Welcome back to Zen Sleep Stories. You made it through another day. You survived. That's enough. In this quiet little inn, every night I tell bedtime tales. Stories from old Japan. The meaning of each story changes, depending on who is listening. So now, let your thoughts rest. Just lie back and breathe. Tonight's tale is about belief and how it can quietly reshape the world. A monk, half in jest, posted a sign. People began to dream, to pray, to hope, and then a dragon rose into the sky. You are thinking, people back then were so gullible, aren't you? My phone just buzzed. Let's see. Apparently, the government is hiding UFOs in Area 51. Well then, enjoy the dragon. The dragon. Ryūnosuke Akutagawa. Lord Takakuni of Uji stretched out under the sun. Well, he murmured. I wake from my nap and the day has grown even hotter. Even the wisteria on the pine branches doesn't so much as stir. The spring water, usually so cool and pleasant, is drowned out by the screeching of cicadas. It's enough to make one sweat just listening. He sat up with a sigh. Someone fetch the boys. Let them fan me again. Just then, a servant ran up. My lord, travelers have gathered outside. Very well, I shall greet them. He turned to the children. And don't forget the large fans. Bring them along behind me. A moment later, he addressed the gathered crowd. My friends, it's I, Takakuni. Pardon my bare chest. It is too hot for propriety. He smiled. Today, I've called you here to ask a favor. You see, I recently took it upon myself to write a scroll. Just one, a small thing. But after pondering for some time, I realized something unfortunate. I've no stories worth writing down. He chuckled dryly. And truth be told, this lazy old man doesn't care for elaborate plot twists or clever inventions. Too troublesome. So I thought, why not ask all of you, the travelers of this world, to each share an old tale with me? Something strange, something curious. In return, I shall write them down. To someone like me, confined to the court and its corridors, your stories will be like treasure, rare and unexpected. I imagine I shall gather enough to fill wagons and boats. Now then, would you grant this selfish request? The travelers looked at each other, then nodded. We would be honored. Excellent. Takakuni beamed. Let us begin, one tale at a time. He turned to the children again. Now, fan the air so it flows gently through the room. Let us have some breeze. He scanned the crowd. You there, Potter and Smith. Come closer, near the desk. and the woman selling sushi. If the sun grows strong, place your barrel in the shade. He glanced at a group of monks. Remove your gongs for now. Samurai, mountain ascetics, have you all found seats on the mats? Good. If we are ready, then let the eldest potter speak first. Whatever tale you remember, please begin. The old potter stood and bowed gently. My deepest thanks for such a generous greeting. For a humble man like myself, it is an honor far beyond measure to have my words written down by your hand. But declining your offer would be even ruder. So, with your permission, I will share a simple, unremarkable tale from my younger days. It may not be exciting, but I ask you to lend me your ears for a short while. He cleared his throat. When I was still a young man, there lived in Nara a priest named Ain, a cleric of the court of high rank. He was known for one thing, a nose so enormous it could only be called monstrous. And the tip of his nose was always red, fiery red, as if stung by bees, year after year. The townspeople of Nara couldn't help but give him a nickname. At first, he was called the high-nosed priest of the court, but that was too long. So someone somewhere shortened it to the nose priest, and before long, even that was cut down to just the nose. I myself saw him once or twice walking the temple grounds at Kofukuji, and I must say, he lived up to the name. A glorious blazing red nose. The nose of a Tengu spirit, without a doubt. One night, this very Ian crept alone to the edge of Sarasawa Pond. No disciples, no lanterns, just him, silent under the moonlight. There, by the drooping branches of the willow tree, he drove a post into the ground. On that post, he pinned a thickly written sign. It read, "On the 3rd day of the 3rd month, a dragon shall rise from this pond." The potter paused, then chuckled softly. Of course, he had no idea whether a dragon truly lived in Sarasawa Pond. In fact, he'd made it up. A complete fabrication. A lie. If anything, he was more certain a dragon wouldn't rise than that it would. So why post such nonsense? Because Ian was tired. Tired of the people of Nara, monks and lay folk alike, laughing at his nose. This time, he thought, he would have the last laugh. He would trick them all and finally turn their ridicule back on them. "You may laugh now," the potter continued, "but remember, this was a tale from long ago. And back then, such pranks were not so rare." The very next morning, the first person to discover the sign was an old woman on her way to pray at Kofukuji. She leaned on her bamboo cane, prayer beads in hand, and approached the pond through a light morning mist. There, beneath the drooping willow, she spotted something new, a wooden sign standing tall where nothing had been the day before. She squinted at it, puzzled. Strange place for a ritual notice, she muttered. But she could not read. Just then a monk happened to pass by. She stopped him. "Could you read that for me, good sir?" And so he did, loud and clear. "On the 3rd day of the 3rd month, a dragon shall rise from this pond." The old woman stood frozen. A dragon? From this pond? The monk nodded with solemn authority. "There is a tale from ancient China," he said. "A scholar once had a lump on his brow. It itched terribly. Then, one stormy night, lightning split the sky, and the lump burst open. Out flew a black dragon, soaring into the clouds. If a dragon can live inside a lump, why not at the bottom of a great pond? It would be no surprise to find many serpents and dragons sleeping there." The woman gasped. She stared at the water, then clutched her beads and fled, muttering prayers. She did not see the monk's face as she left, twisting in silent laughter. Of course, it was Ein himself, hiding nearby to watch his trap take effect. Once the old woman had gone, a traveler passed by, a woman wearing a pale kimono, her servant following behind with luggage. She stood quietly under her hat, gazing up at the sign. Ian, still nearby, bit his lip to hold back laughter. He strolled toward the sign, pretending to notice it for the first time. Then, as if curious, he read it aloud and flared his massive red nose. Without another word, he turned and walked away toward the temple. At the southern gate of Kofukuji, he bumped into another priest, Aimon, who lived in the same temple. Aimon raised an eyebrow. Well, you're up early today. Surely the weather will change." Ain grinned, nose twitching. "Perhaps it will. I hear a dragon will rise from Sarusawa Pond on the 3rd of March. Aiman narrowed his eyes. He let out a sharp laugh. "A vivid dream, no doubt. But I've heard dreams of dragons are a sign of good fortune." He adjusted his robes and walked on. But just as he passed, he heard Ain mutter, "Those without faith are beyond saving." That made Ayman stop. He turned back. "Oh, then show me proof that the dragon will rise." Ain smug now pointed toward the pond. "If you doubt me, go read the sign beneath the willow." Ayman glared, but said nothing more. He walked off, muttering to himself. Ayn could barely contain his glee. Watching Ayman march away, head full of doubt, was almost more satisfying than the trick itself. He climbed the temple steps, barely able to keep from bursting into laughter. Even that very morning, the sign had already stirred curiosity. But as the days passed, rumors of the dragon spread like wildfire. Some dismissed it. Surely just a prank, they said. But others weren't so sure. At the time, people were whispering that a dragon had recently risen from the sacred pond at Shinsenen in the capital. So perhaps, just perhaps, this sign in Nara meant something after all. Soon, more strange things began to happen. A young girl, 9 years old, the daughter of a priest at Kasuga Shrine, fell asleep one night in her mother's lap. In her dream, a black dragon descended from the sky. It spoke to her clearly in words. "I will rise on the 3rd of March," it said, "but don't be afraid. No harm will come to the people of the town." When she awoke, she told her mother everything. The news spread. The townspeople believed it. And then came more stories. A temple boy said a dragon appeared and gave him a poem. A shrine maiden claimed she received a divine message. All of Nara buzzed with anticipation. Some say the dragon's head might even break the surface any day now. One morning, just before dawn, an old fish seller approached Sarusawa Pond. He was there early, as usual, with a basket of fresh fish to sell. But that morning, he saw something odd. The water near the sign glowed faintly in the darkness. He crept closer, heart racing. He crouched behind the willow and peered into the pond. There, beneath the surface, he saw something. Something massive. Black and gold, coiled like a chain. Still, waiting. And then, it moved. The coils unwound. Ripples spread across the pond. And the creature vanished. The old man was drenched in sweat. When he returned to his basket, every last fish was gone. Some laughed, probably a clever otter stealing his goods, but others whispered no. No otter would dare live in that sacred water. It was the dragon. He took the fish not out of hunger, but to spare their lives. Back at the temple, Ein, the nose, watched the growing commotion with a mix of pride and dread. He had only meant to fool a few townsfolk. But now, people were arriving from all over, from Yamato, Setsu, Izumi, Kawachi, even as far as Harima and Tango. He hadn't expected this. Not the carts and crowds, not the talk of holy visions. And then came his aunt. She was a nun from Sakurai, a stubborn woman, well into her years. She had heard about the dragon, and she had come. "I've lived a long life," she said. "If I could see the dragon with my own eyes, I could die without regret." Ein was horrified. He tried to talk her out of it. He pleaded, scolded, reasoned. But the old woman would not budge. She set up lodging near the temple and waited patiently for the appointed day. He couldn't confess. He couldn't say, "I made it up." In the end, he agreed to take her to see the dragon on the 3rd of March. As the day approached, Ein grew nervous. He heard that someone had left offerings at the base of the sign. Flowers, candles, incense. It filled him with a strange feeling, part fear, part pride. He spent his days escorting his aunt around the temples of Nara like a criminal hiding from the law. Then, at last, the 3rd of March arrived. He couldn't back out now. So, as promised, he led his aunt to the wide stone steps of Kofukuji's southern gate. From there, they could see Sarusawa Pond. The sky was clear. The air was still. Not even the wind stirred the bells on the temple eaves. But the crowd, oh, the crowd. People had come from every direction. They filled the streets, pressed shoulder to shoulder. The roads, the banks, even the rooftops were overflowing. Far off, down the great avenue of Nara, he saw waves of people, hats like ripples, banners like foam. Here and there, ox-drawn carriages stood in rows. Their lacquered gold fixtures sparkled in the morning sun. Everywhere he looked, umbrellas opened like blossoms. Silk sheets were stretched above heads. Makeshift platforms were built in haste. The pond was surrounded. It looked more like a festival at the Kamo shrine than a quiet temple in Nara. Ayin stared at the crowd, stunned. He had never imagined this, that one wooden sign could summon thousands. He turned to his aunt and forced a smile. "My, what a turnout," he muttered. But his voice was hollow. He slumped beside a pillar at the gate, his usual smugness gone. Even his bright red nose drooped. His aunt, meanwhile, was thrilled. She stretched her neck this way and that, trying to see the pond through the crowd. "A sacred place, indeed," she said. "With so many people gathered, surely the dragon will come." Ain said nothing. He just sat there, defeated. But then something caught his eye. In the crowd below, he spotted a familiar, bald head. It was Ayman. There he stood, tall among the others, eyes fixed on the pond, unblinking. For a moment, Ayn forgot his misery. He grinned. Of all people to fool, Ayman. He called down to him. Good monk. Ayman turned. Come to see the dragon too. Ayman's face was serious. I have indeed. It has been a long wait. The smugness vanished from Ayman's face. He turned pale. So even Ayman believed now. He looked out over the crowd again. The pond lay silent, perfectly still. Cherry trees and willows shimmered in its surface. No ripples. No dragons. No signs. He began to doubt everything. Was this truly going to end with nothing? He clenched his robe in his fists. The hours slipped by, but the crowd did not move. They waited, still and patient, as if time itself had stopped. Ayn looked out again. The pond's surface gleamed under the sun. It reflected the trees and sky without a single ripple. Still no dragon. Still no sign. And yet, no one left. The crowd only grew. More carriages. More umbrellas. More people climbing onto platforms and ledges. The pressure built. Ayn, seated under the gate, felt it deep in his bones. A tension. A silence. As if something might actually happen. He told himself, this is my own lie. Nothing will happen. I made it up. And yet, a strange doubt crept in. The belief of the crowd was too strong. Could belief itself make something real? Tried to laugh it off, but his lips stayed tight. Suddenly, a wisp of cloud appeared in the sky, thin as incense smoke. Then another, and another. In moments, the bright blue sky dimmed. The wind rose. The bells on the eaves began to chime. And then a gust tore across the pond, sending waves across the still surface. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The light faded. The air thickened. Then rain, heavy. Sudden and cold. Lightning cracked the sky. Thunder rolled like the beating of war drums. The trees bent. Umbrellas flipped. And from the center of the pond, a roar. The clouds split open. Avelam, sakitota, a eget. The pond erupted. Column of water rose high, mist swirling around it. And through that mist, Ein saw it. Just for a moment, a shape. Long, dark, glinting with golden claws. A dragon. Black and vast, rising straight into the heavens. And then it was gone. All that remained were petals, torn from the cherry trees by the wind, spiraling up into the storm-dark sky. The crowd screamed. They scattered in every direction, fleeing the rain and thunder, slipping in the mud, trampling their own disbelief. Ian sat frozen, soaked, stunned, his aunt beside him, trembling. He turned to her slowly. "Did you see it?" The old nun nodded. Her voice shook. "I saw it. Golden claws. Black dragon rising." Ain said nothing. Later others would say the same. That they too had seen the dragon. Men and women. Young and old. All of them. Eventually, the rain stopped. The sky cleared. And life returned to normal. But the legend remained. In time, Ain confessed. He told someone, quietly, that the sign had been a prank. his own doing. But no one believed him. Not even the priests. So, did the sign foretell the truth? Or did the people's belief make it real? Only the nose, Ein, the trickster, might know the answer. But if you asked him, he wouldn't say. Lord Takakuni leaned back, smiling. Well, now, what a strange tale that was. So then, in the old days, it seems even Sarusawa Pond held dragons. Was that? You're not sure dragons ever lived there? No, I'm quite certain they did. In those days, everyone believed, truly and deeply, that dragons dwelled in the depths of water. And because of that belief, dragons would fly between heaven and earth, appearing now and then like gods, revealing themselves in marvelous forms. He laughed softly. But enough of my musings. Let's hear more from you. He looked over the gathered crowd. Next up is the traveling monk, isn't it? What's that? Your tale is about a long-nosed priest named Zenshin Naigu of Ikinoo. Well. Following the story of the nose priest, this should be even more amusing. Very well then. Let's hear it.